Hello, good evening and welcome to Prime Business. I am Pius Kujubaka, looking at our stories. The Association of Ghana Industries is urging businesses to explore other markets to withstand the shocks that may come following revelations that all products exported to the U.S. under AGUA will attract 10% tax. According to the Chief Executive of AGI, Seth Chumakwabwa, it's imperative for businesses to enhance their competitiveness of their products in other markets to enhance acceptability.
If you are paying interest rates of 30 to 35% on monies you borrow from the banks, all this adds to the cost of production and cost of doing business. And when your cost of doing business is high, your price will be high. So when the tariff is slapped on it, it becomes even more expensive. So the way out is that how do we create conducive environment? How do we ensure that Ghanaian companies are able to produce at competitive price? When we do that, our product becomes very competitive in every market. And in that sense, you diversify your market portfolios. You don't only go to the US. I know Ghanaian products are not only exported to the US, but you can deepen your market arrangement in other countries. So Europe, the rest of Africa, Asia, and the rest, if your products are competitive, good quality, good packaging, you can get market in all these areas so that your portfolio or the amount of goods you are sending to the US market, even if it's affected, others will compensate for it. So for me, the best solution is that let's look at other markets. But in doing so, let's look at ways of making production costs lower. And that's where you become competitive in those markets. Otherwise, it's just, if you just pay a lip service to it and you don't get your products produced at a cheaper price, a cheaper cost and a cheaper price, you are not competitive. Once you are competitive, anywhere in the world, your goods can go there.
Finance Minister Dr. Kasiela Tuforsen has announced that no government contract will be approved without prior commencement authorization from the Ministry of Finance, effective April 3. The directive was delivered at a recent meeting with chief directors and senior officials from various ministries, departments, and agencies, where Dr. Forsen made it clear that the days of unchecked contract approvals are over. Dr. Forsen underscored that this is not just an administrative change, but a legal mandate under the amended Public Financial Management Act 2025. He warned that any breach of this directive will attract serious consequences. The minister called on all public officials to uphold the highest standards of integrity and patriotism in the management of public finance. Now, we emphasize that Ghana's path to fiscal responsibility begins with strict adherence to budget implementation processes, transparency, and accountability across all levels of government. Only 37% of Ghanaian businesses in the country accept and use digital payments. This was revealed in a report by the Real Finance Distribution and the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, ISE. The report showed that businesses in the agricultural sector had the lowest rate of adoption and usage. More in this report.
The report further revealed that despite merchant account payment driving greater business growth, most firms using digital payment rely on costly personal mobile money accounts. Larger firms tend to diversify their adoption and usage of digital payment, while smaller firms use the costlier payment methods. Here is Professor Peter Korti.
We've seen the number of firms that engage in digital payments, and we've realized that the majority of the firms are small firms rather than large firms. Female-owned enterprises tend to do better. But then they do better when the firms are actually owned by men, by males. But when females manage, they tend to do better. Unfortunately, adoption by females tend to be lower. And in fact, there's also a spatial dimension across the globe. We've seen as low as 7% in Kenya, and in Ethiopia, Egypt, and other places tends to be slightly higher. So we need to encourage females to use digital payments. There are a number of reasons why adoption is low.
On this part, Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Chamber of Telecommunication, Engineer Dr. Kenashigbe, said the Chamber will continue to invest in education within the fintech space.
Well, that is something that we will continue to do and intensify that, now using a lot of the data that we have to drive the way that it ought to be done. And then we also would work together with Bank of Ghana, the Ministry of Finance and various partners using this data to be able to target the way the education should go.
Female managers, according to the report, significantly boost revenue and merchant account adoption and usage. Digital payment adoption and usage is highly uneven, concentrated in Greater Accra and regional capitals. James Echen's report for Joy Business.
Let's now go to the presidency, where President John Mahama is pushing for resumption of all stalled projects in the country financed by Czech Republic. Ghana has also signed a bilateral air service agreement with that country, which could lead to scheduled commercial flights between the two countries. President Mahama announced this at a joint news conference with the President of Czech Republic.
Our two countries share deep respect for democratic values and governance and human rights, and by nurturing these shared principles, we can engage in fruitful dialogue, exchange best practices, and foster mutual understanding. In our bilateral discussions this afternoon, we acknowledge the cordial and long-standing relations that have existed between Ghana and the Czech Republic, which date back to 1961, when we opened diplomatic missions in our respective countries, and have been reinforced over the decades through the exchange of high-level visits and opening of resident missions in our capitals. We also signed a Memorandum of Understanding on Political Consultation, a bilateral air services agreement, also known as Air Transport Agreement, between Ghana and the Czech Republic. It is our hope that the implementation of these MOUs will reinvigorate and spearhead cooperation in various sectors between our two countries. In addition, we discussed the need to expand the frontiers of our relations and cooperation with the Czech Republic, both at the bilateral and multilateral levels. At the bilateral level, note was taken of potential for trade and economic cooperation. I'll therefore urge the private sectors of the two countries to come together to explore possible avenues for cooperation in various sectors of the Ghanaian economy.
Advisory Board member, Center for Financial Literacy Education, and also the Chief Executive of the Ghana Association of Banks, John Iwa, has underscored the relevance of financial literacy being key in fostering development in the nation's economy among individuals. Now, he spoke to Joy Business ahead of the National Financial Awareness and Financial Literacy Conference slated for April 12.
We get into DDEP because you said our debt level got to unsustainable levels. But what we don't consider is how did we get there? It starts from the household, the individual level, to the household unit, to the business, and then it aggregates into the larger community or larger, what we call the macro. So as banks, we are very much interested in ensuring that the people we deal with, and even those whom we do not deal with, the average person on the street, understand that it is critical that as long as you are using the Ghana cedi to undertake any activity, it's important you understand the business and the language of finance. The basic things. As Peter said, you don't build wealth, like a day and night matter. It's something that you plan and execute over a period. So it is critical that if we want as a country to have our financial freedom, it starts with us. It starts with our business community. And we have to all work to gain the necessary skill that will migrate all of us from where we are to the point where we become financially independent.
Yeah, you brought up the subject of the DDEP. I just want you to tell us some of the financial mistakes people make that, result in some of these outcomes that we've seen recently.
The number one is spending what you don't have. And apart from spending what you don't have, what are you spending on? And we see that a lot reflect on us as individuals. As bankers, we see people who are overstretching themselves. There are people whose salary hit the account, and you see pam, debit. By the middle of the month, everything is gone. What are we spending on? And when we are spending, do we consider the expenditure objective? Are we spending to invest? Are we spending to save? Or are we spending to consume?
And the conference is slated for April 12. Do make a date. Now, the Ghana Revenue Authority has surpassed its target for the first quarter of the year, achieving 41 billion cedis, exceeding the set goal of 36 billion cedis. Acting Commissioner General Anthony Sapong highlighted that the authority is implementing strategic measures, including expanding the tax base to incorporate informal sector, particularly in the Ashanti region. He made these remarks following a visit to several tax service centers in Kumasi.
From the headquarters of the Ghana Revenue Authority, led by its Commissioner General, is on a working visit to the Ashanti region. The meeting is part of efforts streamlined by the management to familiarize with operations of the various collection points under the authority. In 2024, the Ghana Revenue Authority exceeded its revenue targets by mobilizing 153.5 billion cedis. The authority in the first quarter of 2025 has made a significant increase over its set target of 36 billion cedis. Anthony Sapong is the Commissioner General of the GRA.
I say that the entire first quarter performance for the whole country was impressive, and for Ashanti region, they exceeded the target that we gave to them. And I've already mentioned to them that that is the beginning. And I do want to expect that, as they have done in the first quarter, they also deliver on the remaining quarter towards the entire national target. For the first quarter, the budget gave us 36 billion, but I'm happy to announce that we recorded 41 billion for the first quarter.
The Ashanti region has over the years improved in revenue generation targets, with both the customs and domestic collection units exceeding their targets in 2024. The Commissioner General says the authority is looking at ways to expand the tax net in the region to rake in more revenue from the informal sector.
Secondly, we will also be spending time in the course of the week to discuss some strategies so far as domestic tax is concerned. We've always talked about the fact that we need to broaden the tax net. Kumasi is a large area for informal commercial activity. How do we ensure that everyone who is doing commercial activity in Kumasi and its environment are contributing their quota towards raising tax revenue? So these are some of the areas that we'll be discussing to ensure that we make sure that every Ghanaian and every business contribute their quota in building up the national port of the 220 billion we have set ourselves for 2025.
For Joy News, my name is Emmanuel Patsquiku.
More on revenue. The Northern Electricity Distribution Company, NEDCO, says in addition to its indebtedness to external creditors such as the Volta River Authority, it needs resources to expand its internal operations, including upgrading equipment. Speaking during a revenue mobilization exercise at the wood processing companies in the Esunafu North District, the Shinani Area Billing and Revenue Officer, Augustine Inso Aklogo, says they are going all out to retrieve all revenues to meet the operational needs. Precious Semevo has more.
Northern Electricity Distribution Company, NEDCO's indebtedness to the Volta River Authority is impacting on the operations of the power generation company. Consumers also owe NEDCO millions of Ghana cedis, a situation affecting the ability to pay VRA and improve services. During a revenue collection and disconnection exercise at Esunafu North District of the Hafo region, hugely indebted companies were all wood processing companies. Ayum Forest Products Limited at MIM produced post-dated checks of 1 million cedis out of about 6 million cedis debt. And RK Prepara Company Limited at Apinkro paid 10,000 cedis. At Bediako Co-Clean Ghana Limited's power was disconnected due to a debt of about 52,000 cedis, while Supremo Wood Processing Limited paid an initial 700,000 cedis out of a debt of about 1.5 million cedis to restore power. Augustine Inso Akogo is the Sunyai Area Billing and Revenue Officer.
We run the debtors and we have to prioritize those who owe us more. So if you look at MIM here, these are the ones that owe us so much. Where we went first, they actually have a payment agreement with us. They said they were giving us 800,000 check this week and then 200,000 next week. That's why we did not disconnect those people who left them. But here, because they could not give us anything, we have no option than to take them off. We are saying that we are in business because of them, and we need them to be able to be in business. we need their support to be able to supply them power. So we are pleading that they should go out there and try and pay. They should pay. If you have a problem that you cannot pay, reach out to us. We'll see how to reschedule your debt. And don't wait for us to come after you before you pay.
He said NEDCO is chasing their revenue to enable them to honor both their external and internal obligations.
We have a lot of our network is expanding. New areas are there. We need to expand power. We have outdated transformers. We have so many old equipments on the system which we need to even upgrade. Where's the resources? Our transformers are overloaded because of customer expansion and all that. We are not able to do that. So even though there's other external creditors that are on us, even our internal operations, we are having difficulties. So not only the pressure from our mother VRA, from the generators, but even our own operations, we have difficulties in meeting them. So that's why we have to go all out to try and raise the money to meet our operational needs.
Precious Semevo, Joy News, NIM.
Away from revenue matters, Ghana, like many other countries, has reaffirmed its commitment to a gradual transition towards achieving net zero greenhouse gas emissions. Speaking at the launch of the Youth Engagement in Ghana's Energy Transition Report in Accra, Executive Coordinator of the Strategic Youth for Network Development, Chibeze Ezekiel, emphasized the importance of involving young people in the country's transition plans to ensure sustainable job creation and poverty reduction.
The Youth Engagement in Ghana's Energy Transition Report revealed that 71% of young people expressed a strong interest in participating in energy transition initiatives, highlighting the urgent need for structured engagement programs. In an interview with Joy Business, Executive Coordinator of the Strategic Youth Network for Development, Chibeze Ezekiel, emphasized that the green energy sector requires significant investment to address rising youth unemployment in Ghana.
No government has an ambition to transition by 2060 or 2070 according to a framework. But we believe that even though those are very ambitious targets, they must also involve young people. Our research tells us that 38% of the population in Ghana are made up of young people between 15 and 35 years. So it means that they represent a significant portion of our population. And if we don't consciously involve them, it's going to lead into serious problems for us. After all, 2060, 2070 is the young people today who are going to be the ministers, somebody may be the president, somebody may be the DC. So the earlier we involve them now, the better. And we also believe that some of them are already involved in some level of energy transition or green businesses. So all they need is some support to upscale their business, some support to create more employment, so that the youth can find jobs to do. We think that even though there are other means by which youth make money, this is very sustainable because that's what the world is heading towards now. So it's important to invest into them now so we can secure their future and alleviate poverty as a whole.
The research also points to opportunities in Ghana's lithium and graphite discoveries which could support economic diversification and the development of a clean energy industry.
This is still prime business. The Ghana Bauxite Company Limited has set plans in motion to achieve 6 million tons of bauxite production by the end of the year. The target comes after the investment of $122 million in infrastructure upgrade and resolution of operational inefficiencies. The company has also announced plans to build a bauxite refinery to add value to bauxite being produced in the country. Naya Ojima has more.
Last year, the company increased tonnage produced to 1.8 million tons, about 500,000 tons more than the quantity recorded per annum. Following the takeover of the company by the Oforipoku Company Limited, $122.9 million of investment were made into retooling of the company. This significant investment has enabled the GBC to acquire a robust fleet of equipment for mining and other purposes. General Manager of GBC, Alexander Jedu, says the haulage department has also seen significant improvements, with OPCL adding more haulage trucks.
The transition in the mining operations increased production volumes from 1.2 million metric tons per annum to about 1.8 million metric tons in 2024. And we project a further increase to 6 million metric tons by the end of 2025 through infrastructure improvements and operational efficiencies to meet our production target of 6 million tons per year. Ghana Bauxite has made substantial investments totaling about 122.8 million USD in robust fleet of equipment.
The company has also announced plans to build a bauxite refinery to add value to bauxite being produced in the country. Mr. Alexander Jedu, in an interview with Joy News, indicated the refinery will offer more job opportunities to the mines enclave.
The discussions are far advanced with the acquisition of land within the Awaso enclave so that we are siting the refinery within the Awaso enclave so that we can boost the local economy and offer more employment opportunities to the neighbors.
In 2022, IOP Group, a fully owned Ghanaian company, acquired 80% shares in Ghana Bauxite Company Limited from Bonsai Minerals Group. For Joy News, Nana Ochima reporting.
Thanks so much for being part of Prime Business. I am Pius Kojobaka. We have more for you when you log on to myjoyonline.com/business. Prime Sports is next with Razak Musbao.